Afternoon. Gur magat lahaig an Cara agus tá fáilteóibh Galéir. Thanks to Vinny for his introduction. But a pleasure to be here, particularly on such a beautiful day. To be able to walk over from Leinster House is a lovely thing. It's a short distance. I know there are a couple of guests here from other countries who are wondering, is this normal weather for Dublin, for Ireland? And maybe we can say we've had this consistently for the last 6 weeks, but not quite. But I really would like to thank Professor Owen O'Dell, who I've come to know over the last 18 months, for the invitation to come here to the ADAPT Centre, and it's a great pleasure to be here. It's just been 18 months, as I say, since the Taoiseach asked me to take responsibility for data protection, in addition to the European Affairs brief. And at that stage, I didn't really foresee just how significant a year 2015 would be for data protection. Among other developments, we saw the Court of Justice of the European Union deliver its judgment, of course, on the Schrems case, and also, consequently, of course, then striking down the safe harbour regime. We have seen the court reinforce the independence of the data protection authorities across the European Union, and we have also seen the court assert the central position of the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the European Union with respect to the right to privacy and the right of protection of personal data being at the very core of its decisions. Last year we also saw, of course, an agreement on a text of a new data protection regulation, which took 4 years of negotiations to replace the Data Protection Directive, which had been in force for 20 plus years. But in many ways, these developments provide us with only part of the answers to the increasingly complex questions that face us today in the area of data protection, as outlined by Vinny. And while the European Court, of course, upholds our rights under the Charter of Fundamental Rights, we live in a world where some seek to violate the right to life and the right to security, which are, of course, the most fundamental of all rights, and the rights that need to be protected, of course, most. So we, as legislators and as societies, need to strike an appropriate and agreed balance between the needs of the individual, of course, and also the needs of our societies. And as a society, we have to have a conversation about these issues, of course. On the other hand, as users and consumers of services, we need to understand ourselves the importance of protecting our own personal data. We need to ask, why do we so casually trade personal data for convenience in signing up to a variety of services? We need to ask, why do we so readily share our personal data online in a manner that we would not actually ordinarily contemplate in our offline, if you want, lives. And that is why I think that events such as we're having today are very important in raising important issues and contributing to these conversations, because they stimulate debate, of course, they pose difficult questions, and they remind us perhaps that there aren't actually very easy or readily available answers to some of these most thorny questions. The longer I have been in office as Minister, the more I understand that no one sector has a monopoly of wisdom or indeed answers to all of these questions. So we need to bring together all of the sectors to deal with these issues and, as I said, stimulate debate and hopefully get some of the answers. So that was the thinking behind the establishment by us of the Government Data Forum, which brings together experts from a range of civil sectors, including industry, civil society, the legal field, sociology, psychology, the public sector, and our universities. And Professor O'Dell is a member of our forum. And I chair the forum. It has quite a wide remit, examining the many issues and challenges arising from the increasing digitisation of modern life and the significant increase in the amount of personal data generated. It is an exponential increase, of course, as you know. As I say, I hope that Owen shares my view that we've gotten off to a reasonable start. It is something that hasn't been tried in any other jurisdiction. But I have been particularly struck by how well the members of the forum have gelled, and over 3 meetings to date we have had a number of very useful conversations. We have commissioned our first piece of research, which is examining the data privacy and data protection concerns arising from all of our citizens with respect from the development of smart cities. We will be launching this report next Thursday, tomorrow week, which is a date you should all have in your calendars along with Patrick's Day. It is Data Protection Day. So with smart cities, we want to see how technology can be used to help us run our cities, to run them more efficiently, while striving to improve the quality of life of our citizens, but also, of course, to look at some of the concerns from a data privacy perspective that may be evolving from some of the changes with respect to the Internet of Things, and how local authorities use data and so on and so forth that is collected. I hope that this launch next week of our digital cities will contribute actually to some greater national debate. Another of my priorities has been to ensure that our Office of Data Protection Commissioner is adequately resourced. And I think it is a testament to the government's ambition, to the commitment to increasing resources for the Officer of Data Protection, that we increase resources to allow for greater staffing. The opening of a new office, complementary office here in Dublin will come in the early part of this year, 2016. The budget has seen a cumulative increase of 150%, increasing from €1.89 million to €4.8 million between 2014 and 16. We will have doubled the number of staff from 31 to 64, and this significant increase in resources has allowed Helen Dixon, the Commissioner, to significantly expand her team. Over the last 6 months alone, she has recruited 16 new staff, including lawyers, technologists, investigators, and a communications expert. I am pleased, as I say, that we announced last month the location of the new office, which will be in Fitzwilliam Square, and it is being fitted out as we speak. An important part also of my remit as Minister is to try and raise awareness generally of the importance of data protection. We have to move the issue of data protection up the agenda, particularly in our public sector. And the establishment last year of an interdepartmental committee on data issues has been key in encouraging our public services, whether our government departments or semi-state bodies, to address the issue of data protection collectively and indeed individually. It will allow them to develop and share good practices across all state bodies, we hope. Our Data Protection Commissioner has in fact met with this committee on several occasions, and it's, as I say, key that all state bodies now have to the front of their minds the development of new policies. The key, of course, as has been mentioned by Vinny, is the importance of privacy by design. And this is one of the key changes and developments that we will see now with effect to the new EU regulation. This approach will result in more care being given to privacy-related issues at the outset, and will provide, therefore, an overall better outcome for our citizens. Last year I chaired 2 awareness-raising events for local government sectors and semi-state bodies, and they were attended by many hundreds of people, because with the data protection regulation is also coming, I suppose, an awareness that changes will have to happen with respect to how we operate in the data and data protection space. And as I've already stated, there are still many issues to be debated. Only yesterday a survey showed that 81% of people are not satisfied that they can control the privacy images that they post on social media. And it follows that people will not engage with businesses that use technology which they do not trust. A key finding, for example, from the Data Protection Eurobarometer survey published by the European Commission last June is that trust in the digital environment remains extremely low. More than 60% of citizens do not trust online businesses, is a statistic again from that survey. And 7 out of 10 people surveyed are concerned about their information being used for a different purpose than the one for which it was collected. So this really highlights the key challenge that we have. People want the conveniences and they want the advantages that the digital technology brings to us, and yet we're reticent to engage if we can't fully trust it. So in order for us to realise the full potential of the digital economy, we need to improve this trust, and we can improve this trust. But we can only do it by working for it and by creating a greater understanding and awareness, and I think that is, as I say, why it is very important that we continue to have these events such as today. And it is, I suppose, for me as minister in a new space to acknowledge that while the title of my ministry is data protection, there remains huge potential for this as a country, and indeed for societies generally, to continue to see significant societal benefit through the advances in technologies and learning in data analytics, potential for this country, of course, in data storage, and also, of course, with parallel to data protection, the area of cybersecurity and security globally. So it's a space that is evolving, perhaps it's fair to say, significantly quicker than legislators have managed to develop. We have a new regulation, some would say by the time it comes in 2018, particularly with the the advent of the Internet of Things, we may have to look at it again. But I think in this country, with such a digital presence, with such a well-educated and dynamic workforce, I think Ireland, Dublin in particular, will continue to be at the very core of not just the business and technological end, but also, I hope, the ethical and the policy area, where we can marry, I suppose, the potential of this new and exciting age, the digital age, with ensuring that our citizens, their privacy and their security continue to be protected in the best possible fashion. So I hope you thoroughly enjoy this afternoon. I very much look forward to hearing Professor Floridi's view in a minute, and thank you very much for coming along and listening to me this afternoon. Gurmah.